Welcome to episode number 229 of the Beyond Social Media Show, the podcast for you marketing, advertising, public relations, and communications professionals. We are recording live on YouTube on May 18th. Yeah, that's right, 2018. We have a bunch of topics to talk about this week, as we usually do every week. Among them are augmented royalty, virtual influencers, scary Spotify, attention dashboards, bad behavior metrics, who is, where is, who is, a flex too far, dog whistle activated devices, Google taketh away, auditory trash, much more. BL has the honors to kick it off with best story of the week. BL, what was that?
Well, if you haven't had enough of the royal wedding yet, and if you're excited about it, which frankly I am, and you weren't invited, so here's your option. ABC TV has you covered because the American princess and her handsome prince are going to marry tomorrow morning. And so to get you in the spirit, ABC News enhanced their news app with an augmented reality thing called the Royal Wedding AR. And so you can get that, and it has royal history and a variety of augmented scenes, and it's so much fun. You can take your picture with royalty, you can do selfies, and you can put yourself in the pictures. It's got glitz, it's got glamour. It's called the Royal Wedding AR expansion, and it takes you to Windsor Castle and takes you through the English countryside directly to the wedding, and you'll see the carriage and the royal guard and the Queen and Elton John and everybody else. And the goal of this really is to change the way we participate in events. So it's an enhancement that you can get now in the iOS App Store via the ABC News app. And if you already have the ABC News app, you have to do a quick update, and then you just select the new AR functionality, and there you'll be there, ready to go. Isn't that fun?
Well, I'm not really into the royals. I don't get it. I don't understand how Americans can be into royalty. It's completely opposite of what everything we stand for, right? So
she's an American princess. I mean, this is like, and apparently she thought she was going to be a princess when she was a little girl, and this story has come true. I mean, it's a fairy tale story,
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting that news organizations are trying to find different ways of telling stories. This story, I don't really care about.
Oh, poo! It's a fun story.
From augmented royalty to virtual influencers. This is an article at Adweek by Heather Nolan, who talks about virtual spokespeople. Two cases she cites in the article. One is a virtual spokesperson named Shadu Graham, who was billed as the world's first digital supermodel, was invented by a photographer, has 115,000 followers on Instagram from only 21 posts, and is being positioned as more of like a piece of art rather than a spokesperson. This virtual spokesperson recently rocked, quote unquote, Rihanna's Fenty Beauty lipstick in an Instagram post that went viral. And the other virtual spokesperson cited in the article is Michaela Sousa, who is also known as Lil Michaela, is a virtual influencer. The creator is cloaked in secrecy. This virtual influencer has 1.1 million followers on Instagram from only 176 posts, and is put forward as a normal girl. She posts pictures of herself with purported friends on Instagram, claims to support Black Lives Matters in her Instagram bio, and participates in media interviews. She pushes Prada and Chanel, among other brands. So it's a fascinating development. Nolan, the author of the article, questions the staying power of virtual spokespeople, wonders whether they will prove boring in the long run. That she's quoted saying from the article, she says, it's the unattainable assets mixed with the fatal flaws of real life human beings that sustain a public's interest in celebrity. Celebrity as a cycle. Consumers are known to lift them up, tear them down, and cheer their comeback. It's the imperfections that ultimately creates the connection. Of course, we know brands flirt with disasters when they deal with real life celebrity spokespeople because of these imperfections that they have. So virtual spokespeople should have an obvious appeal to marketers if they can prove to garner the audience. But I don't know that this is I think this is a continuing evolution of an already established trend. You think of Max Headroom TV back in the 80s. There's a TV show called Max Headroom that featured a computer-generated personality who became, yeah, it was, who became a spokesperson for New Coke and cut many commercials for promoting Coke. And then back in 2011, I spoke on another podcast about Hatsune Miku, who is a virtual persona created by the Yamaha Corporation, an anime-like character that they use to promote their Vocaloid voice synthesizer software. And this virtual character has performed actual concerts packed with tons of actual human being fans. We'll put a video of one of her concerts in the show notes in the LA Coliseum, I believe. And you think about virtual Carrie Fisher, who appeared in the Star Wars movie after she died. How about bringing back Humphrey Bogart and Lauren Bacall as spokespeople for brands? I think this is something that actually could happen. So fascinating development there.
Well, this is probably related to that. Instagram is now going to show you how much time you spend looking at food porn. Google's new digital well-being initiative is aimed at making sure that you spend more time with your friends and family. And we talked about that last week, about how there were going to be all these different settings on the new phone and operating system that, you know, would make you actually interact with human people. And so they're going to have usage stats and notification reductions to make tearing yourself away easier from your phone, you know. And so now Instagram is planning something similar. TechCrunch found some code inside the Android app that refers to usage insights feature that will show you the time you spend swiping through all those square photos on Instagram. And in a tweet, the CEO of Instagram, Kevin Systrom, said, yep, it's true. So the question is, are all of these going to change anybody's behavior? You know, we're also addicted to our social media, to our apps, to our phones, to our games. You know, will any of this change anything? I don't know.
So Silicon Valley has discovered mindfulness, apparently. But the stats in the dashboard, I was just thinking about it. If you're shown the number of minutes or whatever hours you spend on Instagram, could it have the opposite effect of actually increasing your usage, because the competitive thing will come out and I want to beat my best time on Instagram.
It could happen. I mean, yeah, people are that crazy. That could happen. Yes.
Well, Twitter is being mindful of another metric. This is from an Adweek article by Mary Swant. They had begun already using behavioral signals like tweets that are coming from accounts that have not confirmed their email addresses, or people who have signed up for multiple accounts all at once, as signals that these might be bots, or these might be accounts that are not natural accounts. They recently announced updates to their algorithm that will improve the health of the public conversation, quote unquote, on Twitter, by identifying tweets from trolls before they are reported by users. So Twitter will also identify, in addition to those previously cited metrics, will also identify users who repeatedly tweet and mention accounts that don't follow them. So if you've ever followed a thread on Twitter, and you'll see that there's a lot of kind of odd tweets that don't really fit in there. That's kind of what you're trying to cut down. They're not really deleting tweets; they're hiding them from people in search and in threads. So there's a lot less noise.
And they gave you the option now to hide them and to quiet them for some period of time and that sort of thing. It's interesting what they're doing. Whether or not it's going to help remains to be seen. But, I don't have the problems that people describe because I mostly follow journalists and people I know. And, I think if you randomly follow, I don't know who, you'll see the kind of junk that people complain about. I don't have that.
Yeah, but Twitter is trying to. I mean, they're doing things. You can see that they're doing things to try and clean up the public square on Twitter, as opposed to Facebook, which is really kind of just pushing back and.
Well, I have a story about that I'll get to in a little bit. But there's a wonderful campaign that Spotify is doing. You can have a lot of free usage of Spotify. So this is from an Ad Age Creativity story by Anne Christine Diaz. And they're devoting an ad-supported campaign to free listeners. And it's like a global campaign in terms of both budget and reach. That's one of the first that they've done. And so, for example, they have a multi-pronged campaign. It's called Love What You Love, and they made it in-house, which is an interesting trend that's happening more and more. And they have a pair of blockbuster trailer-inspired films, and they have out-of-home and social videos that liken the platform to a matchmaking service. So the trailers will run in movie theaters, on broadcast, digital, and social, and there are fun twists on horror and action flicks. So, for example, the horror takeoff features a bunch of young people sharing a home, but when one of them plays Camila Cabello's Havana, it sends a horrific, decrepit-looking mannequin on a terror spree throughout the house, and the copy line says, "Killer songs you can't resist, listen free." And then there's an action-themed thriller, and it reenacts what looks like a high-octane car chase that's typical in those kinds of things, but things get goofy because the pursuer can't get enough of Miley Cyrus's Wrecking Ball on his Bose car radio. So they're really hysterical. We'll include them in the show notes. And, what fun to make people maybe want to pay for Spotify.
Very cool. Very cool. I don't have any other good ones. You got?
And I don't. I'm done. I got a lot of bad news.
All right. Well, let me kick it off with the bad news here with an article from The Verge by Thuy Ong. This article, by the way, has the best opening line of a social media story I've ever read, which is, quote, "It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single foul-mouthed young girl in possession of riches must be in want of viral fame," which, of course, is a takeoff on Jane Austen. He's channeling Jane Austen's line, "It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a good fortune must be in want of a wife." So it's just nicely done, sir. But the story is about 9-year-old, I had never heard of this person, 9-year-old viral star, Lil Tay, who posts profanity-laden videos and is a self-anointed youngest flexer of the century. In her video, she revs her Ferraris that she supposedly owns. She tosses stacks of $100 bills in the air. She's quoted in one of them saying, "I'm out here flexing to y'all broke-ass haters. I got a $350,000 chain. Y'all haven't seen this in your lives. I'm richer than y'all. Y'all broke and jealous." This 9-year-old foul-mouthed little girl.
Where'd she come from?
I don't know. I think California, but being an asshole, it turns out, has consequences. So Lil Tay's mother, Angela Tian, has been fired from her job. It's as a Vancouver real estate agent, so she's in Canada, for her involvement with those videos. Quote, "As of last week, Angela is no longer attached with our firm." Jim Liu, Director of Business Development for Pacific Place Group, confirmed, "Our firm does not condone this type of behavior and has no place for this in our business." You have to see the videos. I mean, at the risk of contributing to reviews and everything, this is just a horrible little girl.
There was another one. What was her name? Oh my God. And her mother.
She has, remember Logan Paul that we talked about
Yeah.
several episodes ago? He apparently has a brother named Jake Paul, who is also a YouTube star. So Jake Paul appears in one of her videos as well.
Of course.
So,
yeah. So I'm going to get a little geeky on you. It's usually you that does this.
Yeah,
Me.
go for
it. But one of the things, this is really quite an incredible story. It's from Plagiarism Today, and the writer is Jonathan Bailey. And this is a story about a huge internet mess that really should have been avoided. And, you know, the General Data Protection Regulation, which is the new European regulation that restricts how companies and organizations collect and share your personal data, is taking effect on May 25th. That's next week. So WHOIS is the system that allows us to look up the registered owner of any given domain, and it is as old as the internet. And so WHOIS is overseen by ICANN, which is the process that converts human readable domains and IP addresses and allows the internet to function. So the current requirements of a WHOIS registration include your mailing address, phone number, and email address of the domain owner and the administrator. So many domain purchasers, especially private citizens, were uncomfortable with having all that in a public database. So this gives rise to privacy services that you pay for to mask the information on places like GoDaddy and other hosts. So in the crossfire now of the GDRP are these registrars like GoDaddy, because they could have significant fines if they violate the GDRP by passing along personal data as part of the WHOIS system. So the bottom line is that ICANN has been well aware of all the privacy issues within the whole WHOIS system for decades. This is not new. And they just have failed to do anything about it. So now, a week away, and the whole privacy house of cards of registrars and ICANN and WHOIS are all going to come crumbling down. And they could have resolved these problems and they would have been able to deal with it. But because they haven't, and the internet may become a less safe place through the real impact that is going to happen because of this thing that's supposed to protect our privacy. So what this means is all unclear, but it's definitely going to have an impact on how we track and find spammers, hackers, pirates, and other bad people. So, what a mess.
Yeah, there's pluses and minuses to that story. There's back in the day, I broke a story about a Minnesota politician who had his domain name jacked by an opponent. So an opponent bought his domain name, and I used WHOIS to find out who had bought the domain name and track that person down, got a quote from them, asked them what they were doing with it, and wrote a story about how this opposing camp had domain jacked a candidate for governor in Minnesota. So there's that beneficial aspect of it, finding out who is behind a
That's
domain name.
That's going to go away.
On the other hand, I don't want my personal information attached, because I don't want people finding out where I live. I mean, there's obvious implications there. So there's that aspect of it as well. The other part is that, GoDaddy does charge to keep
it private. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Private from ICANN, and they're making a lot of money doing that. So yeah, interesting.
I know, and but everybody had plenty of time to figure out how they were going to deal with this, and nobody did.
Yeah.
So
well,
that's the
probably
story.
Because they were making money off of doing it. So let's
of
just
course.
not deal with it until we actually have to.
Which is next week.
Right. Yep. So I'll match you with a geeky story. This is from a Moz article by Dr. Peter J. Myers. So back in December, Google had a change that they made to the way that they display beneath a hyperlink in search results that comes from the meta description code in your HTML. They expanded that the number of characters that they would use for those descriptions from the 155 to 160 limit that they had previously enforced to like 300. They can basically doubled that character space. So a lot of us people doing SEO took advantage of the expanded meta descriptions and wrote richer descriptions for pages in hopes of gaining more visibility, more click-throughs. But Google has just rolled that back. So now they are enforcing the original limit. We have a bunch of blog posts that we've written on the for the Beyond Social Media show. We have a lot of expanded descriptions on a lot of blogs I wrote. We have expanded descriptions. So what do you do? The article recommends several options that you're supposed to. You can do nothing and let Google handle it. You can write the length of the that you think is appropriate for the content. So if it's regardless of whether it's 155 or 300, just write the length you think is appropriate to for your meta description. Given that, who knows, Google might change it again next week, and you don't really have any control over it.
You know,
as they want to do, right. You could go back and edit everything down to 150 characters, which I'm not going to do because that's just too much work. Or the more interesting option is an inverted pyramid, like journalists write an inverted pyramid with the most important information written at the top of the inverted pyramid and the least important information at the bottom of the inverted pyramid. So if you had the first line is 155 characters that will fit in with the original limit, the most important information, then write another 150 characters after that. That is additional information that you will be lucky to be included if they do show that. So anyway, there's a interesting tip for SEOs that need to deal with.
Pretty geeky. Okay, so your Amazon Echo and Siri apparently can hear a hidden command that we can't hear. This is from a New York Times story by Craig S. Smith. And over the last 2 years, researchers in China and the US have been demonstrating, this is scary, that they can send hidden commands that are undetectable to the human ear to Apple Siri and Amazon's Echo and Google's Assistant. So inside university laboratories, they've been able to secretly activate the artificial intelligence systems on smartphones and smart speakers and make them dial phone numbers or open websites. So imagine what that could happen with in the wrong hands. It could be used to unlock doors or wire money or buy stuff online or, simply play music that you didn't ask for. So this month, some of those Berkeley researchers published a research paper that went even further, saying that they could embed commands directly into recordings of music or spoken text that we can't hear. And so while a human listener hears somebody talking or an orchestra playing, Amazon's Echo speaker might hear an instruction to add something to your shopping list. These deceptions illustrate how artificial intelligence can be tricked and manipulated. Even though it's making great strides and it clearly has great uses, there's a dark side to it. So computers can be fooled into identifying an airplane as a cat just by changing a few pixels of a digital image. Researchers can make self-driving, this is scary, can make self-driving cars swerve or speed up by putting small stickers on road signs and confusing the vehicle's computer system. And with these audio attacks, the researchers are exploiting the gap between human and machine speech recognition. And so speech recognition systems typically translate each sound to a letter, eventually compiling those into words and phrases. We don't hear that way. So by making slight changes to audio files, they were able to cancel out the sound that the speech recognition system was supposed to hear and replace it with sounds that could be transcribed differently by machines while being undetectable to us. And last year, as we covered here, Burger King caused a big stir online with an ad that purposely said, "Okay, Google, what is the Whopper burger?" And Android devices would respond by reading from the Whopper's Wikipedia page. And that ad was canceled after a whole uproar. So if you're not creeped out yet, here's the really scary part. There's no American law against broadcasting subliminal messages to humans, let alone machines. The Federal Communications Commission discourages the practice as counter to the public interest. And the Television Code of the National Association of Broadcasters bans transmitting messages below the threshold of normal awareness, but none of them say anything about subliminal stimuli for smart devices.
Well, it's really gaming the system. It's the artificial intelligence built into the smart speakers, as you described, recognizes speech patterns that taking advantage of that to game the system. And what happens is, we've seen this from Google from beginning till now, people trying to black hat SEOs is what we called them back in the day, gaming Google's algorithm, which they adjusted. They adjusted to take advantage, to take away that advantage, or to account for that bad behavior.
Well,
so
eventually
I imagine
it will happen, but right now there's no rules. You know?
Well, I mean, there aren't any rules for gaming Google either. It's just
that Google took some time. That black hat stuff was going on for quite a long time, if you remember.
I do, but what I'm saying is they do change it, and it was they understood. In order to keep our customers, we have to have the best search results, the most accurate search results. So we need to take care of this problem, this black hat problem, because if we don't, people will switch.
You better hope that like nobody buys you, you know, a 55-inch TV or empties your bank account while this is getting rules. I mean, this of course there'll be rules eventually. The story is about the fact that right now there aren't.
Yep.
What you got?
That's it.
You don't have more? I do. This is another one about hearing, and this was like one of those silly viral things like the blue dress. There was a story in BuzzFeed by Blake Montgomery, and there were many, including in the New York Times. And surely you've heard by now, what do you hear? Do you hear Laurel or Yanny? I hear Yanny, but a lot of people hear Laurel. And scientists tell us, you know, why we hear what we do. And of course, what would we do without scientists? But according to Redditor Roland Camry, who posts as Black Magic Fuckery, and who first posted the audio clip, the recording comes from a vocabulary.com listing for the word Laurel. And the site includes a pronunciation feature, but the audio was distorted due to being recorded through speakers, he said. So even so, Yanny hearers may be able to hear traces of Yanny in the original recording without distortion. And, you know, he said, trust me, I didn't know what was going on either. It's Black Magic, which is his theme song. But even the White House got in on it, which I thought was quite hilarious. And even the president got in on it. But Trevor Noah nailed the whole thing. He said, well, white people hear Laurel and black people hear, he's got a gun. So
yeah, I heard Yanny. I don't even understand.
Yeah.
Pretend to understand what's going on.
Well, it's something to do with whether or not you hear high-pitched sounds. And I have the kind of hearing like in a store where they have a security device which makes a high-pitched sound. It's like fingernails on a blackboard to have to get out of the store when I hear that thing. And my sister can hear it too, but most people don't, obviously.
So if you can hear high-pitched sounds, you're more likely to hear Yanny.
Yeah, and you're probably also losing your hearing.
Well, that wouldn't make much sense for me, because I destroyed all my high-pitched hearing through loud music throughout the years. So.
I thought I did that too, but apparently what you destroy is the low pitch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So when you can't hear the low pitch is when you need a hearing aid. So that brings us to shiny new objects, yeah?
It does. Speaking of hearing, speaking of audio, I've got an interesting one. This is billed as Instagram for audio from by Amanda Pressner-Kreuzer in an Inc. article. That's where I found it. An app called Hear Me Out, which is billing itself as the first social media platform to put the focus on audio first. It allows users to record and upload 42-second voice clips to share on their feed. You can also share these clips to other social sites like Facebook, Facebook Messenger, Twitter, WhatsApp, Instagram, You can send it to somebody via email or text message as well. Those audio clips, when you share them to other social sites, play in line. So I shared one to my Twitter account, and it plays right from the tweet. So it's pretty cool. It has a hands-free drive mode, so you can listen to your favorite, I don't know what you would call them, hear me outers. On
While you're driving.
while you're driving, yep. They're establishing an in-house team dedicated to creating content. So it won't be one of those apps where you come to it and there's nothing there, nothing to listen to. They've recently partnered with an influencer agency to engage seasoned social content creators and reach their already established audiences. So it looks like they put in place the things you need to make a social network successful. We'll see. It always depends on, am I going to use this if none of my friends are here? You can log in with Facebook and Twitter. So it's likely that if your friends are using it, you're going to be able to find them. But it is an interesting app, and I tried it out a little bit. I went into the politics section. There's a lot of conservative, paranoid, conspiracy theorist type people there, so that's not for me. But as an app, it works pretty well, and I'll put a link to the one that I created, my pro tip in audio version in the show notes.
Yeah, you're right. It depends on whether other people are going to be there that and Twitter had something like that in the early days. I'm trying to remember what it was called. But people were making voice messages on Twitter, and then that just sort of didn't work. It didn't go over. So I came across this. This was on my phone one morning, and I remembered having heard about it before. It's called Be My Eyes, and it's an app that lets you help blind people. And it's such an interesting thing. There's like 700,000 blind people who are signed up for it, and more than 1.5 million people who want to help. So what will happen is a blind person can want to know, like, which is the red shirt that they want to wear today. And so they put out a call for somebody to look and tell them it's the one on your right. Or they want help, finding the signs on a trail if they're going on a hike. Or it could be any really simple thing that, you just don't want to bother somebody to help you with. And how does this look or whatever. And so you get a text message, and then the first person to respond gets to help. And a whole lot of people respond every single time. It's a wonderful thing. It was started by someone who was blind.
That's very cool. That's very cool. And I don't have one as laudatory as that, but to follow up. But you know how everybody nowadays has a mobile responsive website, right, Bill? I mean, we have one for the podcast, and you should have one. What if you had a sexually responsive mobile app?
No thanks.
Yes, I got an email pitch from one of the co-founders of this app, and I usually don't read this, but I read it and like, okay, I'll take a look. So the app is called Bed Beats, and it is a mobile app that syncs music with your sexual movements. So you choose a playlist. There's a chill, there's a funk, there's a trance playlist. You set the phone on your mattress, apparently, and the vibrations from the beat are apparently felt through your mattress, so you and your partner can stay in sync. From the website, there's a quote that says, "Finally, a DJ for between the sea sheets." I don't know if that's a positive.
I don't think I need this one.
Kind of kinky. There's no demonstration video, and no, I haven't tested it. It is a for-fee app, so it's $2.79.
But it's cute that you're blushing.
$2 and or the playlist. So I couldn't tell whether you just pay for the playlist or you pay for the app and each individual playlist at $2.79. But there you go. The music, I imagine, is either Creative Commons or they've commissioned somebody to do it, because I can't imagine they have licensing deals. But anyway, the app is available on iOS and Android. Somebody go out and try it and report back to us. I'm not going to do it
now, right? What the world needs now. So if you were wondering if you were a victim of the Facebook apps that were involved in the Cambridge Analytica deal. Facebook has given us a way to determine whether that platform misused your data. So the app, this includes the app This Is Your Digital Life, which shared users' information with Cambridge Analytica. And that's the company that sparked all the terrible publicity and caused everybody to flee from Facebook. So when I tried it, and I'll put the link in the show notes, when I tried it, it told me, it says, was my information shared? Based on our available records, neither you nor your friends logged into This Is Your Digital Life. As a result, it doesn't appear your Facebook information was shared with Cambridge Analytica. So if you want to know, if you're wondering, Facebook made a way, but they're a long way from gaining back people's trust.
Yeah, what I really want them to do is open up the ad accounts that all the fraudulent ads were run through, so I can take a look and see how they targeted and all that stuff. I imagine Mueller has access to all that, but that's what it would be. It would serve a public good, definitely, if they did that, so everybody could take a look and see how we were targeted.
Because they were very clever, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Another one, Dave?
I do not. Are we going to wrap this up?
No, I have one more.
Okay.
This is a site called Resume, and it lets you take your boring print resume and make a multimedia resume that you can publish anywhere. It's what's interesting is an artificial intelligence-based resume converter, and so you can take your existing resume and convert it into a multimedia one, and you have many editable templates, and right now it's free, it's in beta, and then you can put in video clips and audio presentations, a portfolio, a full featured analytics section, so that you can tell who's been looking at it, and it can publish to its own platform, to PDF, or it can go directly to LinkedIn, and it looks really interesting. So I'm going to put an example of one that a creative designer named Avishek Santra had on their website. Very interesting program. Might as well play with it while it's free.
There you go. Very cool.
We're done.
Done then? Okay, Let's wrap this up. Daily numbers, the reasons people find ads enjoyable. These are the top reasons that people find ads enjoyable. Not surprisingly, 53% of those surveyed said humor is a reason. That we have an actual British advertising show that we show annually here in the Twin Cities that is jam-packed. It's just always sold out every year. And the Brits do humor like nobody else, so that's why. So not surprising there. 51% that said that it's from a brand they know and trust. So the value of solid branding right there. Featured a new product or service of interest. 46% said that. Reliable, applicable to something they need. 44%. I think that'd be 100%. Informative, 44%. Featured a promotion discount they wanted to take advantage of, 32%. And finally, talking about influencers, featured a celebrity influencer figure they like and trust. Only 18% said that was a reason they found an ad enjoyable or memorable. So there you go.
Nobody said because it made them cry. Those are the ads I like. I'm like, oh. You never remember what the products are in most of these ads.
There's the rub, yeah.
Anyway, that brings us to the end of episode 229 of the Beyond Social Media Show. Then we'll have links to everything we've discussed on our blog, beyondsocialmediashow.com/229. And David Erickson is on Twitter as D. Erickson. He blogs at eStrategyBlog.com and CreativePR.com/blog, both of which are really terrific and should be on your reading list. He is on YouTube as eStrategy. I'm BL Ochman. I'm on Twitter as What's Next. I blog at What's Next Blog. I'm on YouTube as What's Next Blog. My business site is blochman.com. I have a startup called Fun Walkers, funny license plates for mobility devices. And the show is at BeyondSocialMediaShow.com. We're on YouTube. We're on Twitter as BS Media Show, and you'll find us on iTunes, where we hope you'll subscribe, on Stitcher, on iHeartRadio, and on Amazon Echo. And we will be back next week, same time, same station. Thank you for watching.